Hey y'all, back at you with another video, Armory Dozier. And today's topic, I want to get into another Willie Lynch section in the story where they were talking about light versus the dark. So they wanted to put the light native against the dark native, and that would create discourse as well. By giving maybe the lighter native more privileges than you would the darker one, there's already going to create that infighting and self-hatred, which you can even see today, where most news anchors or news reporters or people you see on TV are the lighter complected natives, or people who look like you won't see a representation of if you are a darker native, honestly. Or if you do, they usually play like the bad guys on TV. They usually try to paint a negative connotation to the darker natives than they do the lighter natives, which gives the lighter natives a false sense of confidence, I would say, or a false sense of, oh, okay, I'm better than you. You know, you'll see that a lot too, especially, and that's why we really can't unite, or we can't join forces, because we really think that one side is better than the other, or we'll pick a side. You even see it today on Instagram. A lot of people have, red bone, blah, 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 or dark skin, blah, blah, blah. It's like, why would we need to do that if we were all on the same wavelength, that we was all thinking the same? Because you really think that we all were like one race of people, like we were all like one, not one, one shade of people. That's impossible if you really think about it. Nobody is one. Any other race, they have like other different shades. So why wouldn't we? You really think that we didn't have different shades until we started amalgamating? Really? And by amalgamating, a lot of it wasn't even by choice. A lot of it was by force. Like when the Romans came into Egypt. But anytime you watch Egyptian film, like Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor, it's all like non-people who look like actual Egyptians who were in Africa, because Egypt's in Africa. But yet anytime you watch a movie from there, it's dark-skinned Caucasians is what they call them. That's literally, if you look it up, they'll say like Egyptians weren't native people, they were dark-skinned Caucasians. So it's funny how they'll try to rewrite the history, but that's another video. Back to the light versus the dark in the Willie Lynch story. They were saying how like you put the lighter native against the darker native, and by giving the lighter one privileges that you wouldn't give the darker one, that'll create discourse and distrust as well, because now I have the lighter native on my side. You can give the trinkets, and then, okay, tell me now if they're trying to run away, or tell me now if they're trying to plan a revolution or uprise. You're gonna say it now because now you're loyal, because you think you're on the same level, or you think that you have a trust now with the person giving you the privileges, or the person who's in the big house. You really think that you're equivalent because now you're living in the big house, or you're able to sleep inside, where the dark natives could sleep outside. Where the discourse was, the distrust was within our own community, where we felt like we couldn't trust each other, because not all skin folk became kinfolk at this point. Because, okay, you're giving this person more privileges, and now you're gonna tell on me now if we try to run away. And you'll see that happen even today. Like, even on the job, you see some people who act like they actually own the establishment trying to manage you. And it's like, act your wage, all right? Act your wage. You make the same amount as everybody else, act your wage. But you be so quick to snitch on your counterpart, somebody who looks just like you. It's deep. It's deep how this Willie Lynch got into us over the years. The Willie Lynch narrative even reigns true today, where you see that. You can see that even online today. How many debates can you go on where it's like light versus dark in our own community? Even today. Or you'll have like people pick on one another because of the shade of their skin, and we couldn't just unite on the front of, okay, we're all one, because we always were one. I mean, think about it. In Egypt, they had people ruling on the throne, and they also had people who were their cousins in Africa ruling on the throne. There were different shades. So don't get so deep and color struck or colorist to where you forget your history and forget that you are that counterpart. You are the same as a lighter person or a darker person, because there was never just one shade of Native people. There never was that. You go to California, the original Califas, that's named after a Native woman. That they were maybe a shade of copper, and then you go to Hawaii, and they King Kamehameha was another shade of copper, or another shade of yellow, or another shade. Anywhere you go, like, to find Native people, there's gonna be a shade of you. There's maybe lighter or darker, but there's gonna have some type of melanin in there, some type of carbon, some type of 9 ether. So don't get so caught up in the shade to think that, oh, this person's not quote unquote Native enough, or quote unquote in the culture enough, because that also was a Caucasian mindset or Willie Lynch mindset that made you think like that, because that was never the case. If that was the case, it was more so back then what tribe you came from, or what bloodline you came from. It was never about what shade you were. It really wasn't. That they started that, the Caucasians. And the reason why you even call them Caucasian is because they come from the Caucasus Mountains, which are in the mountains, which were cold, which were the coldest mountains. So they came out of the mountains, and you'll hear a lot in these circles about the sun people and the ice people. And we'll look different, and then we'll have different things, because as a sun person, we're more free, we're more open. A lot of people, we didn't have like clothes like the way, because it's so hot, or we love the sun. But for ice people, they're not going to be as free and open with their resources, because sun people, we have year-round resources, year-round mangoes, year-round. So yes, of course we gave away. If you look up Mansa Musa, who was the richest man, he was just giving away gold and threw off the economy of some places because he was just so generous. But with ice people, they're used to not having food year-round, so of course they're going to be more, tight-fisted, or more less willing to give things away, or trickery. You see that? So that's where the whole Willie Lynch story came from, because the ice people were trying to trick us into fighting with each other instead of really fighting who is the real oppressor. He's trying to rule over you. So just something to think about. All right, now, y'all take care. You hear?